Two, one.
Good evening. Today is Wednesday, December 6th, and this is the HHCSD Board of Education meeting. The board has just returned from executive session, and before we begin, we stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to approve the agenda this evening. Rosen. Second. All in favor? Great. We're going to begin with our audience comments on non-agenda items. Carmen, do you have anyone signed up?
We do. Mr. Sean Murray.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Murray. I'm the commander of the American Legion Post and for Plank William J. Boyle Legion Post. Last year, in conjunction with Ruth Oldham and Guy Van Slotten, I can never say his name. We raised funds for memorial bench dedication that took place on Memorial Day. These benches were dedicated to those graduates of Hendrick Hudson High School who were killed in battle in Vietnam. We raised a lot of funds and we did pretty well. And that dedication took place in Memorial Day, last Memorial Day. In speaking with Guy and in speaking with Bruce, and after all of our bills were paid, we wanted to make a donation to one of those students. His name is Doug Mowbray. Doug Mowbray was killed in Vietnam. He had an affinity for art, and he really enjoyed the art programs at Hendrick Hudson High School, and he continued with the art after he graduated. And after he died, his family set up the Guy Mowbray Scholarship Fund, which I verified with the district is still an active fund, which dispersed funds last year. I was told tonight that I can't give you guys the check, that I'd have to go down to the district office and finish some paperwork. But I just wanted to let you guys know in the public who donated money that we're donating $1,300 to the fund to be dispersed in accordance with the guidelines set up for the fund. So I'll bring this check down there tomorrow. I just wanted to explain to you guys and let the public know that we did have money left over. There was a couple of emails that went out by Guy to close out the accounts. And I just wanted to tie up this loose end. So I just wanted to thank you for your time. And I'll be down at the district office tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Commander Murray, thank you for the donation in honor of Guy. We will, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my contact information. We're definitely going to make sure that you and your fellow legionnaires are here. We're going to make sure that we have it on a public agenda item. We'll invite you and we'll do a public adoption of it. So we'll definitely be able to recognize you and the cause of the donation as well too. But I'm going to give you my contact information and we'll arrange for that. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Does anybody have anything to pull this evening? No? I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Can I have a second? All in favor? We have. All right, our first donation this evening. Reading the right one. Oops. The Ken Schwartzberg has donated two 24-inch Dell Ultra Sharp monitors to the district valued at $100 each, totaling $200. First, and the second is the Office of Special Education has received a donation in the amount of $200 to be utilized to pay for partial summer camp funding for students with significant handicap and conditions. That is from for the Barbara Katzenstein Scholarship Fund. And I have a motion to approve our donations. Second. All in favor? Great. Our next section is audience comments on agenda items. Carmen, would you mind calling up our first speaker?
Penny Hine. Hi, my name is Penny Hine. I am a community member, a teacher for 38 years, 30 years in Hen Hud, and co-head building rep for Furnace Woods Elementary School. I would like to point out some areas to make sure they have been addressed and completely thought out prior to any decision. With the current mock schedule, there is no common prep or lunch. MTSS meetings, sharing of ideas, planning time, assisting colleagues, special programs and schedules, students in the same grade having lunch and recess together, departmentalizing, which has been discussed, cannot happen. No way to properly group students for ENL, AIS, or any other pull-out programs by need or grade with no grade level common prep or lunch. Parking is maxed out at Furnace Woods. So is plumbing and septic issues. Another 100 to 150 students and 10 to 15 staff members will tax the current systems. Are we addressing these issues as well when we redesign the schools? Start and end times, the older students are used to the earlier schedule and will be on an even earlier schedule in middle school and high school. Are we changing this on them as well? In a 3-4-5 or a K-1-2 school, we would or should have the need in each building for 2 full-time ENL teachers with the population growing, at least 2 AIS math teachers, more than 2 AIS reading teachers, a full-time counselor, social worker, psychologist, OT, PT, speech, librarian full-time. That's 13 to 15 rooms that would be needed, not including special area teachers. Related services, special area teachers, ENL, AIS, reading and math all need a separate dedicated space to do their jobs and fit students in the spaces to meet the size of the largest group they could or would see. Sharing spaces isn't always conducive to learning. All spaces should have appropriate ventilation, windows, enough space and equity in resources for all teachers teaching the same subject area. For instance, the stage as a classroom with mother connection before and after school, with lunch and breakfast. That teacher would have no place to put their things, no setup or cleanup time, and no door or anything on their room. Money for a new reading program should have been allocated prior to doing a pilot, or why did we do a pilot if we can't afford to put the program fully into place with all necessary components across all schools and all grade levels simultaneously? Costs could and would be available without change to the school configuration. The use of Henrik Hudson High School was mentioned at the board meeting last week. We already use Blue Mountain Middle School. We had our concerts and our graduation there, and we have our concerts there again this year. So whether it's Blue Mountain with the 4th and 5th grade or the high school with 4th and 5th, we are still using another space. Kindergarten classrooms need to be 900 to 1,000 square feet to meet state regulations. Furnace Woods has 4 rooms that meet this criteria with 7 projected kindergarten classrooms needed for the 24-25 school year. FGL already is equipped with the necessary classroom space. At Furnace Woods, the rest of the classrooms are 700 to 750 square feet. FGL also has the potential to increase the pre-K program with available rooms and even an additional 3 rooms occupied by Edutech. Has it been taken into consideration if any grade adds another section or splits? Not enough time to judge if the current plan is working. Don't fix what may not be or isn't broken. Take the time to reconfigure the buildings if that is what you choose as your next option. But prior to shifting and moving the students and staff, what will you do if you move everyone and it either isn't ready or doesn't work as planned? I urge you to make no moves till the 25-26 or the 26-27 school year when all renovations have been completed and assessed. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Our next speaker is Mrs. Powell.
Good evening, Board of Education members. Thank you for all the work that you do and the time that you commit to this district. Many of you know me as I've been a teacher in this district for 27 years. Tonight, however, I'm speaking as the second vice president of the Hendrick Hudson Education Association, representing the 3 elementary schools. Our union recently conducted an internal survey regarding the elementary restructuring. We surveyed educators in the K-6 realm as the earlier proposals included the middle school.
The responses to the questions spanned 38 pages of carefully thought out responses to short answer and multiple choice questions. The 38 pages were shared with the Board of Education, and I'm here tonight to share some of our statistics with the community. When asked if the current plan had been in place for a sufficient amount of time for it to be evaluated, 87.5% felt that it had not. 77% of educators surveyed felt that the current model should be continued. 10% chose Plan B, 6% chose Plan E, and 7% chose Plan G. When asked for a second choice, 37% felt adamant that their first choice was the only choice. 19% said Plan G, 22% chose Plan B, and 11% chose Plan E. I took some time to read through the responses from my fellow educators and could really feel the emotion in their comments. I tried to find a few thoughts that I could share in this forum, but it was a challenge to choose one or two from so many passionate responses. So instead, I'll take the liberty of summarizing. Educators were asked to list reasons for their answers to the survey questions. They were asked to list the things they felt were important to keep, even if the current plan is changed. I repeatedly read that there isn't enough data to compel change. I read the words diversity and equity over and over. Educators spoke about the ability to collaborate with their colleagues and have a level playing field on which to teach. Community was another word that came up often, emphasizing how each school had created its own identity as a whole. When asked what educators would like the Board of Education to consider if a change is made, there were again many impassioned responses. The overwhelming theme was a desire to be listened to and to be included. 38 pages is a lot to read through, I know, and I hope the board has had some time to read through the responses and get a true sense of our professional opinions and heartfelt thoughts. As educators, we want what is best for our students, and we see successes and imperfections on a daily basis. We are the ones that see the impacts of big decisions on the youngest learners in our community. We will continue to work with the Board of Education and the community to keep Hendrick-Hudson School District truly Sailor strong. Thank you for your time.
Megan Boyle.
Don't mind if I cry, I get really emotional. Good evening, I'm not here to speak to give data or facts, but to speak with transparency and vulnerability to all community members. For those of you who don't know, this is my 8th year in the district. Today I taught a lesson and it felt great. It's my 2nd year in the 4-5 STEAM position and I've got the chance to improve it and make it better. I started writing notes for myself next year, but I realized, does it matter? Is this even what I'll be doing next year? Where am I gonna be? That anxiety and frustration took over and I couldn't bring myself to take notes anymore. This is every day for an elementary teacher since 2019. We will always make it work. We do it for the kids, but the constant unknown wears on you, especially when at the same time, test scores are posted for the world to see, and yet our feedback is not truly considered. In the perception survey, intrinsic motivation for teachers was lower than average. I started to think to myself, why? I know amazing teachers who work hard every day to be better. I realized why. We pour our heart and soul into what we do, and it feels like instead of praise, we receive criticism. We feel constantly we have to defend ourselves instead of taking risks and pushing ourselves. I'm not giving input on your decision, but please know the message of Princeton plan failing is taken to heart most by the educators. We stayed countless hours setting up rooms, learning new math curriculum, being put in new positions, going into new buildings, only to start day one with a smile on our faces. And instead of that hard work being recognized and praised, here we are to fix a failure. I hope you think of how your words and decisions impact those professionals around you. As much stress as you feel trying to make it decide a future, we feel trying to make it successful. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you for the ample opportunity that you have provided the public to engage in this conversation, and including this chance to speak just before you vote. I work for a woman who has been in education for over 60 years. Over the last 35 years, she has developed and refined a method of writing instruction that is being used in tens of thousands of K through 12 classrooms around the world and counting. She knows a thing or two about education, and there is something she says over and over again that I wish to reiterate to all of you, and that is that teaching actually is rocket science. I was present when this board set the lofty and necessary goal of 95% literacy rates for our students. To take the next step towards that goal, this district will need to dedicate the time, money, and all necessary resources towards providing our teachers with the robust training of the new ELA curriculum, alongside high-quality professional development that has an actual impact on teacher practice. That alone should be the sole focus of the administration in the next year, because piloting a new curriculum is a massive undertaking, and you do not need to do much research to learn the detriments of what happens when a school district tries to do too much at once. Teachers burn out, and the students do not get what they need and deserve. When you make your decision tonight, you have to ask yourselves one very important question. In this plan, will we be able to provide the teachers with all the training and care they need to move the needle towards 95% literacy rates? And the only acceptable answer to this, to vote for a plan, is to say yes. And please keep in mind that all teachers are literacy teachers when a school does things according to what research determines best. Should you choose to put ELA curriculum and professional development on the back burner, you will be contributing to an already compounded problem, and the ripple effects will continue to be felt for years. This is the kind of problem that becomes harder to solve as time goes on, especially if you lose devoted, caring, hard-working teachers along the way. This is an emergency situation, and I am not being an alarmist. At the forefront of your decision should be the education of all of our students and what is best to meet their needs. It starts with the teachers, and they have told you what they need. And to ignore that would be a mistake with ramifications that you have yet to imagine. Thank you.
Mariella Carrascola.
Many times that I have been up here, this will be the hardest one. My name is Mariella Carrasquillo. I organized a protest in front of the high school 3 years ago. I created a sibling collage of all the children that would be torn apart and left it at the superintendent's doorstep. I started a petition and drove around to soccer games to get signatures. I submitted an application to be on this board. I also rallied to get new board members. I hated the Princeton plan with every inch of my being. I hated seeing my children torn apart. I hated the chaos that followed. I stand here today to say, leave our kids alone. Our second grade and fourth grade is damaged. Sorry. One more transition will surely break these kids. Thank you. As much as I wholeheartedly believe that 3 years are better, I am adamant that 1 year transitions are 10 times more destructive. Our second and fourth graders cannot move again. Our fourth grade will have moved every year from 2022 until 2025 middle school if you move to Plan B or G, or move them under Plan A. Give them the opportunity that our first and third graders have gotten, a full 2 years in one school. Our second and fourth graders need this. Our 12-1-2 students need this. I remember when our fourth graders were in second grade. At the end of the year, there were boxes all around the classroom. The room became stark and uninviting. Books were packed that were intended for reading. Teachers, at no fault of their own, were spending time packing that could have been used teaching and celebrating end-of-year achievements. The damage was already underway. I cannot tell you how many times I heard you all say, it's about the kids. If it's truly about the kids, please help these kids. I've also heard you say that through a thorough, detailed plan needs to be in place. 8 months is not enough time to write out this plan. Do not change to Plan B or G for 2024. Use your efforts to focus on their education and learning loss. And if you really want to be forward thinking and you're really adamant about Plan G, why not put third grade at FGL in September and put this year's kindergarten at Forest Woods in September? So that when and if you do switch to Plan G in 2025, they are already in their respective schools and you do not have to undergo another transition. BB second and third grade can go straight to FGL to join their fellow fifth graders in 2025. You are eliminating the amount of kids that need to transition and slowly transitioning teachers opposed to all at once. Isn't that your overall goal, to reduce transitions? You have the ability to reduce the amount of moves while still achieving the same goal. This is what I call compromise. This is what I call baby steps, the thing that we failed at in 2022. P.S. You can also bring back reading buddies between big and littles, which was a huge loss in this current model. Mind you, I just suggested that I give myself 3 elementary schools again for a second year in a row, but I would sacrifice myself for the greater good. To my friends, I am sorry I let you down. I have fought and fought, but I have to be a mother first and a friend second. On 11/27, I said I was speaking on behalf of future families, but due to COVID and 1-year transitions, we need to stand up and protect our current children. I need to be able to look into my daughter's eyes and know that I stood up for her. What once started as a fight to keep our neighborhood schools has now evolved as to what is the best for the overall well-being and education of our 4th grade. I love these kids, every single one of them that I have gotten to know, and they need to be at peace. We have board members with a 2nd grader and a 4th grader. You have to know and understand what I'm feeling and how our
I
children
didn't
have
realize
been
the time's been
impacted. Sorry, my chair took up a lot of time. Thank you.
Speaker, Mary Landry.
Good evening. I'm Mary Landry, mother of a 3rd grader and a pre-kindergartner, also a teacher in this district. Only days ago, the Board of Education submitted changes, updates, and additions to the elementary reorganization options that had previously been made available for months to the community. No one has been given time to be made aware of these changes, time to reflect on the pros and cons of these changes, let alone give input on these changes. For this reason and this reason alone, those dozens of others exist, it would be unconscionable to go through with the reorganization vote tonight. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to move the superintendent's report ahead of the policy. Second, all in favor? Right, so Mr. Trombley.
Thank you, President Bernard. Good evening, Sailor community, and to the colleagues and families who spoke this evening. Tonight, the board will be discussing policy 5110, school attendance areas. After that discussion and any subsequent decision, the district will begin the important process of implementing any associated actions with that policy. Next week, and this is to speak to a number of the questions that came up about if there is a change, how are we going to make this happen? Part of my answer is with the professionals in this room. And next week, I anticipate scheduling the first of many frequent meetings with various stakeholders to plan to implement any policy changes if needed. The purpose of this meeting will be to plan for logistics and any other considerations for a smooth, effective implementation with all the collective minds and problem-solving abilities of people who will be on that committee. I anticipate inviting representatives from our collective bargaining groups, cabinet and district level administration, student representatives, and any community partners such as Mother Connection, who was mentioned earlier, and any pre-K providers who may need to be involved. Together, we will address any challenges in a proactive and collaborative manner. In addition to those vital gatherings, I look forward to continuing to learn about our wonderful educational community by focusing on an entry plan to learn, listen, and help. And furthermore, we will re-engage in our efforts to focus on effective student outcomes and perhaps most importantly, work to bring the community together through our shared commitment to our students. And I hope you will join me in beginning that process by stopping by the Breakfast with Frosty event hosted by our elementary PTAs this Saturday, December 9th at the Hendrick Hudson School cafeteria. And you can choose any breakfast time and stay afterwards for fun. There's a session from 9 to 10 a.m., a session from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., and a third session from 11 to 12 p.m. It's $12 per child, 4 years and above, and $10 per adult. This is open to all students and families. And it's a great way to begin to celebrate some of the festivities of this holiday season and to focus on what's truly good about the community, and that's coming together with our students. You can purchase tickets through the elementary PTA member hub as well. I also have some quick updates about events going on throughout our district. Updates on our scholar athletes. 8 of our 10 teams this past season were named to the New York State Scholar Athlete teams. Our girls volleyball, girls tennis, boys cross country, they all won league championships. Winter sports season is now in full swing. The girls basketball team won the Hen Hud Jack McGuire Holiday Tournament last week here at Hendrick Hudson, so congratulations to them. Coach Boyle is probably pretty excited about that. The boys basketball will host their section of the Jack McGuire Holiday Tournament Thursday and Friday this week, and they will play at 6:30 on Thursday and 6 p.m. on Friday. Our varsity wrestling will be the #1 seed in Section 1 dual team tournaments that will begin next week. As the #1 seed, Hendrick Hudson will host the first 2 rounds of the tournament on Wednesday, December 13th. It's a busy update for sports, so it's a good thing. Next Saturday, our varsity cheerleading team will be participating in the regional championship, and they're hoping that with their performance, they will qualify for nationals in January, so we wish them good luck. Our strength and conditioning program to support our athletes is in full swing. Coach Merchant is available during the week to provide a very comprehensive strength and conditioning program to our students. And this is a great way to enhance the fitness level and improve themselves. We encourage students to take advantage of that. My wife is a certified strength and conditioning coach, and I know that it doesn't look like it works on me because it obviously doesn't. But I'm sure our sailor athletes, it would definitely help improve their capabilities. The varsity boys and girls bowling teams are both undefeated, as both teams are 2-time Section 1 champions. The Hen Hud Varsity Club will have a huge holiday fundraiser. I know that Coach Baker wants me to mention that. That begins tomorrow. They will be selling used Hen Hud jerseys from various sports. I hope they're washed. And they will conduct their sale in the concession stand in the Hall of Fame during Thursday and Friday's boys basketball games. Again, with the holiday season upon us, our sailor musicians will help ring in the festive nature of the season with upcoming concerts. Our elementary concerts, which will all be held at Blue Mountain Middle School on January 23rd, the 5th orchestra and chorus will begin at 6 p.m. and the 5th band orchestra chorus will begin at 8 p.m. On January 25th, our 4th grade orchestra and chorus will begin at 6 p.m. And again, on January 25th, our 4th grade band and chorus will be at 8 p.m. with a snow date for all of the events on the 30th of January. And all of these concerts again are at Blue Mountain Middle School. In terms of our secondary musicians, December 12th, our Blue Mountain Middle School band will play on the, our 12th. What? Yes, numbers.
On December 12th.
No.
They're throwing numbers at a social studies teacher. So on December 12th, our.
I think it's supposed to be 7th and.
Interesting. I'm just reading off the flyer. I didn't write it down. So.
7th and 8th, because.
We have our music teachers and.
Yeah.
12 and 12, 15, 7th and 8th.
Musician on December 12th,
Yeah.
but I don't remember if it's band or orchestra.
So on December 12th, it's Blue Mountain Middle School band.
It's band.
Is in the parentheses, that's the snow date.
Snow date.
If anybody could have messed this up, it was me. So on December 12th, our Blue Mountain Middle School band will perform with a snow date of the 15th. On December 13th, our high school chorus will perform with a snow date of the 14th. On the 18th of December, our Hendrick High School band or orchestra will perform with a snow date of the 19th. And in January, on the 9th, our Blue Mountain Middle School Orchestra will perform with a snow date of the 10th. And then on January 17th, our Blue Mountain Middle School Chorus will perform with a snow date of the 18th. This will also be in our weekly updates and flyers, so you can look for it yourself and thank me because we translated it for you. And just on a side, I had the pleasure of visiting Miss Dellner's class for a preview of the concert for the high school chorus, and it was the highlight of my day. As a follow-up, there are no responses from community input from last meeting. And at this point in time, as usual, I have to tell my children if they're watching to please go to bed. And that is the superintendent's update.
All right, moving on to the policy portion of our meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turn it over to you, Dr. Laura.
Yes, as part of the superintendent update, because of the stewardship and leadership that Dr. Laurel has provided for a number of months, I wanted to give him an opportunity to speak to the Board of Education on this moment of their vote on the policy 5110. So Dr. Laurel, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I just want to thank the community and the board for the opportunity. Certainly was a lot more than I expected, but in the end, I feel like I'm in a good place too. And I hope you feel that you are and the community is in a good place in that, to me, the indication is tonight, just looking around the room, we don't have the large numbers and maybe there are a lot on TV watching it and so on. But the important part is that I think that through your efforts of transparency, these words were thrown about before, your interest in engaging the public, various forums. And I can assure you from both my time as interim and my time working as assistant to the board and to Mr. Trombley, the amount of work that the cabinet and other people have done in putting together all the materials, and this is really just a small segment of all of what has been going on. And even though I heard comments tonight about short times and short periods, the data was coming at us rapidly and to the board. And what we tried to do in all of our responses was to provide the best opportunity to give you the information that was needed and requested as best as we knew it. Although sometimes that may have changed because of the some other factor that we may have uncovered. An interesting fact is, just want to clarify a point. Of course, the board does its research, and whatever the decision is tonight, and it's certainly entirely up to you. And I think that whatever the decision is, the district can live with it. The teachers will rally and support it. It's never been about poor teachers are not doing a good job. It's been about the makeup, the format of the buildings, and the number of transitions. And I know that from our own speakers that we brought in here, and that concerned me the most. I look forward to the opportunity in terms of the community being able to work with an appropriate pre-K program that the board has endorsed as a factor in this effort to bring it on and give it as an opportunity to every student. So that I commend the board for doing. The other piece of it that I wanted to mention, just by way of the facts, even though we're not going to get to answer everything that was said tonight, there was just one that bothered me. And I know from speaking to Anthony Merlino, our facilities person, Merlini, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else, Merlini, that our septic capacity is at 20% in that building. So of course, it's something that we looked at, and the increase in the number of students, the building septic system was built for a much larger number of students than we've ever had there. And so moving it up slightly toward what that capacity is not going to push it over capacity. And there were another number of other things that I could go on because I've uncovered them and we've uncovered them collectively. I just want to say that I know that I feel that you've got all the information that you need to make an appropriate decision. Postponing it would do us no good. We wanted to fit the budget cycle. We've done that if you vote tonight. I know that what goes forward from here, as Mr. Trombley said, is a lot of work. And I know that with the time that the group has, with his suggestion of involving all of those people and all of those various groups, that by September you'd be in a good place to open, whether it be a continuation of a plan B or a plan G, or for that matter, even the plan E that got eliminated a while back. But whatever you do, I know that you're ready for it. And again, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with you. And I hope that my presence and my wisdom or whatever I had to bring to you was helpful in terms of getting you to the point you're at tonight. Thank you.
Want to discuss before we
I
leave?
have a quick question. Are we reading the policy first or are we going through the document?
We have to begin to read the policy and then we stop for discussion.
Okay, but then we don't vote after it. We get to discuss these items that are here.
100%.
Okay.
She likes it from the screen.
We are reading school attendance areas policy 5110. The Board of Education establishes and maintains attendance areas and boundaries within the Hendrick Hudson Central School District. Attendance areas and methods for determining attendance within the district may be developed or revised periodically to meet changing educational program requirements, community growth and development patterns, building capacities, population variables, etc. The board expects the superintendent to keep apprised of the status of enrollment for each attendance area. The board will review proposed changes along with the supportive data submitted by the superintendent and his or her administrative team. After an intensive review, the board will hold a public hearing on the proposed changes before any formal action is taken. Each student in grades 6 through 8 in the Hendrick Hudson School District is required to attend the district's middle school. Each student in grades 9 through 12 in the Hendrick Hudson Central School District is required to attend the district's high school. For the 2021-2022 school year, each student in grades kindergarten through 5th grade in the Hendrick Hudson Central School District is required to attend the elementary school serving the attendance area in which his or her residence is located, except as set forth in 1 through 3 below. 1, pupils of the Hendrick Hudson Central School District requiring special programs located in a school other than the one serving his or her attendance area. 2, a pupil who moves from one attendance area to another within the Hendrick Hudson Central School District after October 15th will be allowed to complete the school year in the school serving his or her former residence. At this time, at the end of the school year, the child must enroll in the school serving his or her new residence. An exception to this requirement may be made for a pupil who is about to enter or has entered 5th grade. In such a case, the student may be allowed to complete his or her elementary school program in the school serving his or her former residence. 3, the superintendent, upon his or her sole discretion, may assign a student to another school under extraordinary circumstances. All parents requests for exceptions to the elementary school attendance areas pursuant to 2 and 3 above are to be made annually in writing by June 1st to the superintendent for review for the following school year. If an exception to the elementary school attendance zone is granted, transportation to the elementary school outside of the student's attendance area shall be the responsibility of the parent, with the exception of students in special education programs. For the 2022-2023 school year and each school year thereafter, the 3 elementary schools within the Hendrick Hudson Central School District shall be organized with such that one elementary school will be dedicated to grades kindergarten to 1st, another elementary school will be dedicated to 2nd grade and 3rd grade, and the 3rd elementary school will be dedicated to 4th and 5th. Shouldn't this be struck? This should be a strike through, right? Correct?
Yeah.
It should be a strike through in the draft. Yes. So that's all, that's a strike through in the draft.
She said this was the
Paragraph.
Because it makes sense.
For the 2023-2024 school year, so this has to be revised too. For the 2023-2024 school year and each school year thereafter, the elementary schools within the Hendrick Hudson Central School District shall be organized such that Buchanan Verplank Elementary and Furnace Woods Elementary School will be dedicated to grades kindergarten to 2nd grade, and Frank G. Lindsay Elementary School will be dedicated to 3rd through 5th grade. Each student in grades kindergarten through 5th grade in the Hendrick Hudson Central School District is required to attend the elementary school that serves the student's grade level and resides in the areas prescribed below. Students in kindergarten through 2nd grade residing west of Route 9 and the area in and about Montrose Station Road, east of Route 9, including but not limited to Oak Road, College Hill, and Travis Lane. shall attend the Buchanan Verplank Elementary School. Students in kindergarten through second grade residing east of Route 9, except as provided in the paragraph above, and in grades kindergarten through second grade shall attend Furnace Wood School. The board reserves the right to alter these attendance zones in the future based upon enrollment.
Can I make one statement before? On the first page of it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times it says his and her.
Yeah, we have to change it.
Yeah.
It needs to be changed. Yes, we're gonna speak, we should just have to change it. I read all that.
Now, this is the time where we can discuss the policy, any thoughts, questions, concerns. One thing I was gonna do is ask Mr. Trombley to speak to the academics piece and the pilot and the curriculum going forward, because I know there's been a lot of concerns and comments and questions around that.
Yes, so there are currently, as the speaker tonight mentioned, there are currently 2 pilot programs being explored for our literacy program for next year, which is in response to the previous work that the district has discussed to ensure that our students are receiving the best literacy program. I think that's something that we want to make sure we are mindful of, and in the planning meetings that we have coming up as part of those as well, that will go over logistics. We definitely want to hear what is occurring in those pilots from a curricular standpoint and see what supports can be are needed at that time. So that will be part of those continuous discussions to make sure that with every aspect of any policy change, that it will support that movement as well. So
I just wanted to make sure that we know for everyone in the public that this is Plan B that we're discussing with the changes of this policy. I wanted to go into the budget and what's that all summarizes that was posted today, just so everyone at home could understand what the implications are with moving to this policy if it's selected. You want me to?
are there specific questions, or would you like?
I just want to get the public to understand how we got to $744,000, because the document we're all looking at, they're not looking at it. So we should.
So
what that includes.
We wanted to provide a summarized version of costs for the public to understand some of the thought processes that went into what a transition to a policy that included this plan would look like. And it was a balance between transparency and understanding that this is a fluid planning process, and that we are not going to know every single cost down to the letter of each plan until we actually get into the process of making a proposed change. We wanted to provide a summarized cost in terms of what the cost was of this plan compared to the current version. And we looked at a number of areas, such as technology, the cost to move or change buildings, any impact on transportation, any impact on program, any impact on staffing, and any impact on facilities. And to drill down into our desire to balance transparency, but also not cause alarm of things that could be proposed and not come to fruition, we wanted to make sure that we provided general costs. But I can tell you that in general terms, technology, we were looking at adjusting smart, and under Plan B, adjusting smart panels to move them from higher heights to lower heights for the youngsters that would be accessing them. We took a look at the cost to move to from a number of perspectives. There may be some teachers who wish to pack themselves. that would come with a cost to it. There's cost to moving supplies. There would be cost to the actual hiring of a moving company to move, and for those teachers who did not want to pack for them. So we wanted to make sure we encompassed a number that reflected all that. That came to approximately $225,000. If we looked at transportation, we wanted to provide transportation costs with buses filled to 50 student capacity. Our buses can handle, I believe, 72 students, but understanding that we want there to be space on the buses so students can have comfort in their rides. We looked at under Plan B, we estimated there would be a reduction of 5,000 miles per year. So that was about a $20,000 saving. We want to make sure that we, prior to September, we fully vet out the runs. We have another set of eyes on those runs with a different perspective. So the possibility of hiring a consultant, we estimated that would be about $35,000. We also, in that cost under transportation, looked at the cost of including monitors on the buses. I believe 9 monitors plus the benefits, and what that would do based upon the experience we had at the beginning of this year. We looked at a number of programmatic costs. Under Plan B, we looked at supporting a special ed program in 2 buildings and supporting professional learning in 2 buildings. That came to approximately $135,000. We looked at staffing changes, including additional supports that may be needed. And then also under facilities, minor ancillary construction costs to support that transition made up the of about $25,000 to make up the $747,000. You're welcome.
I had a question for the board in terms of being reflective. A few weeks ago when we were sitting here, it seemed to be that Plan B was not what we wanted. And it was kept as a cost comparison for some of the other plans. So my question is, why do we want it now? If it wasn't good then, why is it good now? And why would you settle?
I don't think I said that. Well, actually, I know I didn't say that I didn't want Plan B. I said that I didn't want Plan A. So there are, in looking, because just like the past speaker, he just left, and looking at community schools and looking at grade banding schools, I see the positives and negatives in both. And I feel that Plan B gives us the positives of both. And I think and reflect about Maurice Sykes and the transitions. And I'm not clear, so I do have a question. Plan B, does that give us the ability to expand UPK?
Yes, yes.
Does Plan A give us the ability to expand UPK?
No.
So
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna interrupt for a second. Plan A based on switching the buildings, correct? Because that's what this cost of $447,000 reflects. Yes, yes, it does. Yes.
well, I just want to finish my.
I'm sorry, finish your thought and then I will jump in.
I was trying to research how much UPK would save us on the back end. So the closest I could find is the 2017 study that, and the numbers obviously low, that expanding your UPK program would save you about $2,500 per student. If we times that by the number of students we have, that gives you $237,500. So if I take both of the plans and subtract them, like it's your UPK in the back end is going to help. It's gonna get rid of inequities, a real plan to get rid of inequities. And it's going to save the district a lot of money. So just for me personally, when I look at banding, and I definitely look at teacher collaboration and common prep times. But then I looked at right now in Plan A, not all of the teachers have that. That concerns me because that creates inequities. And then I kind of think back to what a teacher said to me. A teacher said to me, you should do what's good for the majority. And I was wondering why that bothered me so much, because in education, we don't really do that. If we made every decision based what's good for the majority, all of your specialized programs
that don't have the majority of kids in them, you would cut to save money. That's not creating educationally sound programs. So I never said that.
But when we were sitting here, because I was sitting here, you did say that because I even recapped what you said because I was unsure. And in my recap that you agreed to, I said, so we're solely keeping Plan B on as a cost comparison and that we're not interested in it.
I think we learned a lot of new information since then. In all fairness, because the UPK conversation has developed quite a bit, because this is almost, what, 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago?
More than.
I think that's why.
I just, okay.
So in terms of your question, we pulled up the map. There, if you don't change the buildings, and stay in Plan A, it appears there's one more room for preschool, so you could expand a little bit. If you flip it, we have no, there's,
Where were we? Okay, but
there's two.
if we should move technology, then that frees up FGL and the classrooms there, because we were talking about that. Because on the sheet that I'm looking in front of me, right? You guys had, Plan A has swapping the buildings, which gets us to the $447,000 amount that's here. So I just want to make sure that people at home understand that this dollar amount does not reflect us staying in the current plan as it is right now.
Well, hold on, there's two parts to that, right?
Mhm.
So the 400, we took off the removing technology as a cost. You see that reflected?
Correct.
Okay. If we stay as is and we take that $200,000 off, which is, I think, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a very conservative, that's like a very conservative number, right?
Correct.
If we took that off and we left it as is, we couldn't even add one classroom on pre-K.
Right, but if you're moving technology out of FGL.
We cannot put pre-K in the basement because it's not really classrooms and there's no
Okay,
bathrooms down there.
I understand the pre-K point of this, and I don't wanna, I wanna go back to Plan B. So in Plan B, we know just by looking at the data that was presented already, that the demographics would be uneven across the two buildings, right? And I don't see how as a board, knowing that we would be turning a school into a Title I school, that this Plan B would be. You're not doing that, but the demographics of the schools will be different. We know that from the data that was presented.
Tamika, this is the problem here.
Mhm.
You're not a Title I school until you reach over 40%. That's not, we're not a type, we're not in Plan B.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I'm defending it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, we as board members to sit here, live in our own truth
Yes,
and speak from our hearts, but we also have to speak from fact.
yeah,
That is not a Title I school.
it will be 9% away from a Title I school.
But Frank, the 3-5 school is only 3 percentage points away from a Title I school. Right now,
And our community is at that.
that's our community.
Our community is at 30-something, 31%. So it is actually a reflection of the community. I did look at it because I see your point,
Mhm.
Yes.
but BB will actually look like the community in that respect.
How would BV look like the community when
Because-
we'd only have 17%?
You're
Of the
looking at it as
disadvantage.
compared to Furnace Woods.
No,
You're not
I'm
looking
comparing
at
it to the data that was given for Plan B. BV would be at 31% and
Jen's saying
Furnace.
that overall, the whole district, K through
K
12,
through 12.
is about 31% economically disadvantaged. BV would be reflective of our community as a whole.
But we already know as a district that more of the influx is gonna go there, right? So if it's going there, we know where it's headed.
Yeah, it's hard to, I mean,
But
that
you're
is,
also assuming that they're moving in four.
I'm not assuming anything. I'm just telling you based on the demographic studies that were given to us, right? If we're splitting the schools and dividing the schools again and dividing the district, we're back to where we started, and it's a huge regression on what we've already
I mean,
done.
the population is likely to increase more at BB. I don't disagree with you. I'm not sure we could say that it will become more economically disadvantaged or not. I understand the concern, certainly. I do. But I want you to understand that BB does look, when you do this, it does actually reflect the overall community. It is. Furnace Woods, to be honest, I'm not,
well, it
Yeah,
doesn't,
it's not funny.
but it doesn't not, because Frank, for right now, Furnace Woods. This is for next year, but our pre-K 1 school
it's 21%.
But it has all the grades of the kids in it right now.
Right. So
Our buildings are actually very different.
our buildings
I guess
are all very different depending on the kids
My
that
other-
are sitting in.
My other question is, we go back to district lines and dividing up the district again on who goes where. Are we gonna be continuing to divide and just change the policy every time we need to change the district lines to accommodate the population as it starts to come in? We know that we have 3 developments coming to Buchanan. They're coming to Buchanan. We already know what's gonna happen in the elementary school.
But the policy reads
There's
that,
2, correct.
the policy reads that it is the superintendent's job, as part of his job, to present what he sees to the board and to the community. Maybe that wasn't done before, maybe it wasn't done often enough, but these are conversations that we can't just have today and then have in 10 years. We have to have them all the time.
I understand that, but why would we present a policy where we already know that there could be changes again based on what we're discussing right now?
That's what none of the buildings are approved. I mean, who knows when they'll actually go up? They are in plan, but none of them are approved to go. They're 3 to 5 years away.
Okay.
I looked into Round Top because that was my question. And you do what, out of the units in Round Top, when it first was created, and Enrique, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, you had 12 students. You don't have 12 students there now. So
Originally, I think we had 7.
I believe it was 92 units and it was half and half, 2 bedroom and 1 bedrooms. One of the buildings that is proposed is, I believe, a luxury apartment complex. I mean,
Building with higher end dimensions.
I will say one thing, and I think that in Plan A, it's not been addressed. And we need to address it as a board, whatever direction we go to. We need some implicit bias training. We all do. I need it. And in speaking with people in the community and teachers, I think we all would benefit from implicit bias training.
Totally agree.
I just also wanted to state, like, it's been pretty clear with the data that we don't have majority of our supporters who want Plan B. Based on the survey, like they said, 77% would like to continue to A. I don't like to mention this, but I ran on a very clear platform. And the community supported my platform, which was not Plan B. It was very clear. Majority of the community did not want Plan B. As an educator, I also just want to state, which I did here tonight, I think we need to be aware that mental health is real. You're not going to get less of a teacher in the classroom by moving them around, but what you're going to get is a more stressed out teacher, a more burnt out teacher, a teacher that's working beyond where they are. The morale is going to be low. They're still going to be in the classroom doing what they do every day with that smile on their face, like we heard. It's not going to change what's happening in the classroom, but it's going to affect them as a person. I just want to make sure we're understanding the weight of that. Because
I have a question. Percent is from
77% would like to confirm the survey.
What survey?
Of teachers,
The
not.
teacher survey that was
I
sent
did
out.
have a question about that because I saw that 89 teachers responded, but I didn't know if I was looking through.
89%.
89% of teachers responded, because when I was looking at it and it did the question, so you're saying you had 89%. Because that is not what I saw. It said 89 responses. So when I'm looking at your graph, because I pulled it up, it says the current, like the BOE's, I just want to make sure I was reading it correctly. It says 89 responses. I was like, wow, why does it say 89 responses?
But we're like,
Well,
what
hold
we're
on.
saying is we're taking away the collaboration of our youngest, which is where it matters the most. We're taking away that from there. We're making them have to work harder by separating them. For me, like I said, I want to think about the mental health of our teachers. They're still going to perform in the classrooms, but at what cost to them? I also want to think about a family. And I know that I heard the community say they want less transitions, and we were looking at that. I just don't think that this is it.
Can I just ask a question? How many elementary school teachers do we have? If it was 89 that responded, do we know what the total is?
I thought it was 235. Am I
No,
making up that number?
That's total, 252.
252.
Is the total.
That's everyone.
Is the total.
Teachers.
Is the total.
But that was sent to more than just.
Just K-8, yeah.
So, K-8.
It was only
That
said.
includes PT, OT.
No, it's K.
You have a lot. So how many was, I can get?
Well, while we're looking this up, I don't discredit not a word you said. I fully value everything that you're saying. I have to throw in a couple of things from the opposite perspective. We have to think about the mental health of these children. And one of our speakers mentioned it and mentioned about how another change would impact the children that are in certain grades. I look at this and say, I really want to bring in another 140 children and their parents and their siblings and their families to this debacle that's been going on. I don't. Right? So there's so many angles to look at this, and you have to appreciate and value all of them. Students being really important, teachers being really important, administrators, the community members, the parents, right? All of this is important. There's nobody that's more important than the other. And I'm worried about the mental health of everybody, us, the kids, the parents, the teachers, everybody.
One thing that I've been hearing too, last year we were really big on the one hen hut, and I haven't really heard that this year. And Plan B will further take away from that by putting a divide. We are cutting our community. Cuts leave scars, so the cut will heal. We may heal, but that's going to leave a scar that's going to stick with us, that our families are going to feel. And you're going to have families inside who are wondering, why did this happen? And it's gonna stick with us for a really long time, and you're dividing, like you are dividing a town.
I was just gonna say, I just wanted to just comment on what you said about the mental. I think as a board, we also have to be very we have to reflect on what has happened and transpired here. The truth is, we can all sit and throw, whatever comments we have about the Princeton plan, but the truth is, the old administration did not support and give the teachers as well as the community what they needed with those bridges. They never put anything in place. And I'm really sorry, I'm gonna say it right now. Neither did we. Nothing has been done to make anything easier. We're saying it's a failure and it's not working, but none of the work that needs to be done has even been attempted. We haven't put anything in place to help. The kids haven't gone to the other buildings when they're moving up. There's nothing. I met with the teachers at BV and they told me nothing was done. They said it was told to the teachers that they needed to organize it. So I'm just saying, as a board, we have a responsibility to sit and say to ourselves, is it worth the mental health of our children that have gone through COVID, that are in 4th grade right now, who might have come from FGL, that went to BV, and now they're at Furnace Woods, and another change is gonna ship them right back over to FGL. So if we're gonna talk about transitions, we're about to, in any plan that's put forth tonight, we are gonna do more transitions to those kids than they would ever get in the 3 schools going to every 2 years. And we could actually put the things in place that are needed to not stress our teachers out anymore, to not stress out our kids and not stress out our families, and to bring this community back to where it needs to be. To Amelia's point, that one hen hut that we keep talking about. And when we do that as a board, or we focus on those things, the things that we can then focus on that should be our priority, honestly, because Maurice Sykes said, it's not where the kids are learning, it's what they are learning. And we have exhausted so much time and energy into what building everyone is going into that we aren't focused on the curriculum. We're not focused on the middle school. We're not focused on the high school. And it's our duty as a board to make sure that all students in this district are getting everything that they need.
Yes, I'm gonna piggyback on that. Go ahead.
I just don't want to forget it. I just have to say this because I'm the leader of this board and I cannot let this, I cannot be remiss here. it is not our job to put certain programs in place. These people here have not denied one single ask. One single ask. We support everything that makes the experience better and we figure out how to pay for it. So please, all of you, I commend you and I really take to heart what you just said. It's not our job to put those things in place.
I don't want you to be offended when I said that. It's just I'm saying, as a district, we have not put forward the tools that were needed to make instant plan ever work. We never did.
Or before.
That's all I'm saying. It's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of this board.
No, I know, but I
People
just
who have been
I want
here
everyone to
before,
know
yes.
that we have, somebody says jump, we say how high.
Absolutely. I know
Right?
that. I
Like
know that.
anything that needs support, we figure it out. We go to Enrique, how do we make this work?
I know.
And we totally support it.
I
So
agree with you wholeheartedly.
whatever you have to do.
I was just gonna say, because I've been waiting. That in speaking with all of the parents and the teachers, no matter what side you're on, everyone agrees that there's a divide in this community right now. And we need, and I don't, whatever we pick, I'm gonna say it right here and now. I'm gonna support, even if I don't vote for it. Because I think every side realized that healing needs to start taking place and creating more dissension and divide within the community is only hurting the kids and the community. And the other thing that really hit home for me as a parent is sitting with the teachers and them telling me that it's harder for kids to get services now. Not about the plan. I'm not even talking about that, okay? I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel the same thing. So whatever we go with here, I want it to be very clear to the community. What you told us, we are aware of, and we are looking into and making sure it happens. Not just for our own kids, for every kid that is in this district.
Steph, Mr. Trombley pulled up that we have 176 K through 8 teachers, including psychologists, guidance, etc., and 75 9 through 12.
And that's team, just pull that together real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So 176.
They only did K through 5.
No, they did
K
K through 8.
through 8.
It was K through 8.
The survey was K through 5.
Oh, okay.
And that's
Survey
about
was
100 and maybe 10 with
Okay.
6th grade, because we're about 100 without.
So your 89 is also 89.
So just one other thing, when we talk about cost, a recurring cost that will be an increase in G is the increase in teachers needed. And that's something that will only increase over time.
In B?
In B, what did I say?
G.
Oh, sorry, yeah, yeah, in Plan B.
It's more so, I would say, an unpredictable cost, because you could have more people move in on Furnace Woodside, and then you have to add resources there. You could have, so there's
Yeah.
fluctuation.
But
And if our
An addition of a
enrollment continues to decline, we'll see costs go down, but that's not because of the plan.
yeah, but teacher cost, just remember, will increase every year. Salaries go up, yeah.
I guess one of my questions is, I guess, for the facilities team, I guess, are we planning, or is there gonna be a bond that ever gets presented in the near future? Because that's gonna be a cost as well, right? Because if we need to focus on doing all the repairs to our infrastructure, right? Now we're gonna spend another $747,000 that we don't need to, trying to implement Plan B.
I'm gonna take this moment to explain this, even though I'm hoping that we talk a little bit more about that at our next meeting in December. The district has debt retiring. Now you can just let that debt retire and not improve your facilities and, call it a savings or spend it on something else. However, we all know that you can't just let your home fall to pieces. And what we should do is hold that money, right? Put it forward towards making new improvements. So whether it's $1 million or $2 million, we can do a project of probably 25, 35, depending on interest rates, $1 million to continuously improve our buildings. We do it. That's what we do. We've done it all through the years. When debt retires, you reuse that money to put it towards a future capital project to stay tax neutral.
Yeah, I guess
No, so Jen, who kind of heads up our facilities, has been working with our facilities group, superintendent, with Enrique, Anthony Merlini, the architects, everybody on outlining what that is. I honestly don't know the details of it. They've just started assigning how much money they should put where and why and how. And sadly, a lot of the money is for things that you can't see, but you need to do, like.
I guess that's just my thing I'm asking, if we're gonna start adding costs to things that, to go to a different plan. You know, we have the cessation funds that's gonna be decreasing again next year, that starts next year and decreases by $2 million for the next 6 years. So I think as a board, knowing that we don't have the revenue from Indian Point, we should be very conscious about turning to a plan that can increase the costs to our bottom line, which would affect the taxes to our district. I know the next meeting on the 20th, we're doing that full deep dive based on the audit, but I think these are all things that the district needs to understand when they're looking at, you know, the last presentation, last meeting that said 2.75% to 8%, right? How does that impact what's happening here on these sheets with these costs? And I think we need, as a board, we have to be mindful of that.
I care a lot about costs. You know I do. And I care about the taxpayers, especially who it impacts. So I think you also have to factor UPK and what it's going to save us on the back end. And I also think it's like a double shot because it is a real tangible way to help inequalities in the community. I'm right there with you with the cost, but I also think that when they did this, instead of being really forward thinking about it, they chopped the elementary schools without looking at any of the other ways that they could save money. And that wasn't really fair. And you know what, from sitting on the board now, I'm not even going to criticize that because it was COVID. We all thought we were dying, okay? But really, there are costs that you could save and you wouldn't even feel it. And as teachers in the district and other people who work here, you know it. Oh, so I am very conscious about the costs and the taxpayers.
I think the answer to your question though, is we said we would meet again with the architect to, he wanted us to pick the plan so that we knew where we would allocate our funds. So we would decide on how we would allocate our funds at the elementary school.
Or the elementary school, right?
Right.
Either
So-
way, there's money for the.
Yeah,
For high
the-
school
yeah,
and the high
we
school.
set aside a certain amount for the elementary schools that we haven't figured out what we're doing with yet until we.
So we
decide
won't
on a
add
plan.
to it, it would just be choose what we would focus on. So every elementary school had work, so maybe if you go with Plan G, maybe you don't spend all that money that was allocated to BV. If it was talked about media centers and focus it more at Curtis schools.
Because my other thing is also the, you know, just the loss of the cafeteria for all of the students going through it. We just spent $1 million on that and it's only gonna be.
That's for G.
No,
Yes, for G.
Only in
Gee,
G.
sorry, but I'm skipping around.
So only in G would that be, and our preschool students would be using the cafeteria, and there are kids. They'll be our students.
One of the things I wanted to talk about is this UPK idea that we're doing, right? So I know last week, I just wanted the administration to give us sort of an update on what was discussed and how we can move forward if we were going to with the UPK in our district.
In general terms, Dr. Roller met with a potential provider to do a walkthrough of the buildings and through that walkthrough, had a conversation about what they would willing and be able to offer. They discussed things from interacting with school staff and school administration, partnering with the building, partnering for items such as how lunch would be provided, what role transportation would play. And in general terms, and I'll let Dr. Roller correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, but they're very flexible and wanting to support in any way possible an expansion of our UPK program if we're offering them to come into our buildings, and they're very flexible in how they would do that. And from the administration's expectations, we would make sure that they're fully integrated into the building from both safety and security perspective, how they interact with shared spaces, what impact it may have on those shared spaces, building administrator would still be the building administrator of the entire program and be the point person. So it'd be a true partnership.
I guess, how does that impact the local childcare services we have here as well? If that becomes something that we focus on.
Well, UPK would be a taxpayer provided service. So it would not have cost direct to families to participate in that. And it would be a family's choice to enroll their children in that, but they would not have any out-of-pocket expense to directly participate in that, other than if you consider the taxes they pay in the state.
But I guess the participating ones that work with our UPK now, if we expand it, then we don't need them, correct? So then that'll be a revenue loss to those participators who probably have hired staff and have centered their services around that would now lose that income that's generated because if we move on the line, it's possible.
It's possible, yes. And the way the process would work, and I'm coming at this from experience with implementing primarily to providers, we would have to put out an RFP, and that would be open to anybody who would be willing to provide and respond to that RFP.
Just something that you brought up that I actually didn't think about until just now is with Plan B, with expanding UPK, it's in a building that we're using for our K-1-2. At times that might get a little messy, mixing with an outside program during the day, not after school, during the day with our everyday K-2.
I do have experience in a district where we had 3 preschool providers with multiple classrooms in a shared space, and you have to make them a fully integrated part of that building. From safety protocols, how do those students enter the building? How do those students transition through the class from their class to the playground? How do you schedule those shared spaces? I found value in seeing young students who will be coming into that school learn the process, expectations, norms, and interact with older students as role models to be quite positive.
Yeah, it's not the students I'm worried about, it's the adults. Yeah, I'm just thinking like at times, if they're running something a certain way that is different or doesn't align with what we're doing, that's where I'm thinking it can get a little messy.
Yeah, it's about setting priorities, and I would say that the K-2 program would have to have in this particular model, would have the priority. And you work with the UPK provider to see where they could fit in, if there ever was a need for priority.
I want to say that when we adopted UPK and went this way, I was at the podium upset because I knew this was going to put our own providers out of business, and we have lot 2. So that means that our community doesn't have as many options to send their children to. So it's like, not daycare providers.
Yeah.
Our nursery schools. So, we have to fill that void for families because not everyone can pay for daycare. And the universal pre-K that we have right now is not universal. So if we're gonna call it universal pre-K, it should be a goal to actually make it a universal for all of our students to have access to.
Can we explain in each plan what it looks like? So in A, we would have, I think, 1 more classroom.
If we approve it. We could, if we have, we could have 3. It says 3, right?
Yeah.
And is that, if we were to do that, is that keeping the teachers we have staffing and then getting a provider for 1, or are we?
That's a decision regardless.
Okay.
So there sounds like there would be 3, and that's all together. But I guess what got tricky for me, and I had this direct conversation with administration, but I think we should talk about it here and for the public. What does UPK and Mr. Trombley or Margaret, whoever, what does UPK look like in Plan B, and what does it look like in Plan G?
And even an A.
Even an A.
We need to discuss it in an A.
Well, it is what it is.
No, because if we stay in where we are right now, in the buildings we're in right now.
Yeah, we have 3 pre-K.
2.
I'm talking about because Plan B has 2 different.
No, I know, but I think it's important for the community to understand that if we stay as we are, we don't move anybody.
Yeah,
We only have 2.
Yeah, but I think, but no matter what, IT is moving to, IT would move to the high, is relocated. Sorry.
Beneath is like, shove me anywhere.
In Plan A.
And,
with me.
yeah, Levi's relocated.
That's what it has on the sheet.
And then, so we would have classrooms.
I didn't know if we had a designated space yet.
We don't.
Okay,
We've explored various things.
yes, okay, no, I thought she was saying a place, that's why I was like, I wasn't aware that we had a designated place yet.
We don't.
Okay.
So we looked at other elementary buildings, our other secondary buildings,
Yeah,
modular spaces, even looked at moving my office to a modular space. Those, all of these have been explored.
I looked at, I had looked at some, I just,
I found out they had bathrooms right in the modular.
and
space.
AC, I heard AC and bathrooms, better AC and bathrooms.
So, okay, so what does UPK look like in all of the plans?
In respect of how they're broken down or.
How many kids can you provide? If it's Plan B, who's going to them? How are you assigning the children? You know, that stuff.
We've run numbers, on the overview of the remaining grade band plans. We anticipate we could certainly use numbers to plan at PV, 59 students for total
You're
enrollment.
in Plan B right now.
Wait, hold on.
That's right, which started off.
So I guess just in A, it's 3 classrooms in FGL. And the board needs to decide if it's gonna be in-house or it's going to be a provider.
Correct,
Okay,
in all plans.
yes.
Yeah.
But in Plan B, so I'm saying this because I used to be under the assumption that if you were in Plan B, we wouldn't have room in Plan B to expand UPK, and that was a miss. But then I learned that not only do we have room for it, but other providers that we're speaking with are okay with being in 2 buildings.
Correct. Yes, for example, we met with a provider, who, if they respond to the RFP and are chosen, they said they would be flexible in providing the appropriate amount of staff and resources to support pre-K in 2 buildings or 1 building, and work with the district on exploring other options, such as even opening up to their 3-year-olds.
So if I'm a parent and I live in the BV area of Plan B, do I automatically get UPK in my home school? Or do I have to go to Friends School?
We don't know.
Now you know this.
So in B, we have 4 classrooms for preschool.
It would be.
I'm a parent. I sign up, I want UPK, you're gonna assign me to my home school.
Yes.
If I live in Cortland Manor far out, and I'm a parent, and I sign up, I'm going to Friendswood. So I'm gonna go to UPK in the school where I would go for K through 2 in Plan B.
But what happens if more applied, if you said there's 4?
We could have 7 sections total, 4 at BV,
Oh, 4 at
3.
BB, okay.
3 at Furnace Woods, because that's,
Okay.
I think we actually have more space
We have
than that at Furnace
We
Woods,
have more
but
space at first.
BV only has 4.
Okay.
I would just like to say that I love the idea of UPK, but I think our district has a lot of other issues that we need to be working on. And UPK should be, expanding it should be a future vision for our district with a goal to get there.
So we said
Because
years ago.
the truth of the matter is, UPK is gonna, we're gonna get the funding, but is that guaranteed? No. States always make cuts. Who knows if that's the thing that goes? And then guess where that costs once we lock into a provider goes to? The taxpayers in the district. And in Plan B.
No.
You're not
No.
locked into a provider.
You're not locked into a provider,
I thought
You
they
don't
said
get
that
the
the
grant money.
wanted a multi-year contract with us.
and you're only locked into the grant money tied to it. That's what I'm saying. When you state, I'm telling you it again, Tamika, when you say things, that's not actually true.
So, I'm sorry.
So, okay.
The state takes
We put out UPK, we're doing UPK, we're gonna use a provider, sign your kids up, we take your kids, they're gonna join our UPK program.
Correct.
Then we would get the grant money for.
Well, you know
those-
before you do that, what you're getting.
Right, so if they were like, hey, we're chopping off funding, we wouldn't be able to then offer the program.
So then,
Or we could, as a community and as a district, as a board, that we value that, we could, we have $610,000 for 113 students, right? Just, that's how it is right now, in grant money.
Yes.
We have an agreement with an outside provider to provide a program. We can negotiate that
And they could pay.
parents can pay the tuition, or we could decide as a district that that's what we value, because like Stephanie said,
It
over
does save you
time, it
money.
saves you money. But that's a conversation to have down the road, that part of this to me is a conversation to have down the road if funding is cut.
I just think we should be thinking about all those things because we're looking to expand the UPK program. And we have nothing that's locked in, nothing that's for sure. We need a timeline of when it could be rolled out, which we still do not have. And I just feel like for us to just continue to focus on this as like the main objective of which plan we're gonna vote on is not what we should be doing. I think we should be focused on the here and the now, what our students right now need, that we should be providing for them, and not another plan and another thing to go down the street about and let's start wondering about the why and when they can take us. And if we put the RFP out and it doesn't work out with the contracts, then how long does that take? And will that be available for next year? Like, there's a lot of unanswered questions that we need clarification on. So I don't understand how we could vote on a plan that's just saying we're doing this because we care about UPK, because nobody's more passionate about UPK and giving our youngsters, getting them started earlier. I would love that. That would make my whole dream of a school district, right? Because every young family would want to come here. We would be a desired community, but we have enough things that we need to work on that we do not need to now sit around and say UPK is the thing now, and we're going to focus, we're going to throw that into next year's move, and everything that's going on with the teachers and everything going on with our students and everything parents are talking about. It's all a little bit too much, and I just don't see Plan B working for us as a district if that's our central focus.
So you see value in pre-K, just not next year.
Just not next year. I think.
So we should take it away. We should just keep the 2 classes we have and only offer 36 children.
Listen,
That's what-
if
that's
there,
what- that
if
is okay.
there is room for us to add more, since the tech department will be moving out of FGL and we can add it, great. But I don't think we should move to a whole new plan, spend $747,000 for it, when we could do it in the current model once IT is out of the building. We could save all that money by not reinventing the wheel of something that we already have in place in a building. When IT moves from there, they're moving out of the space. We just said that that's for sure, right? So how many classrooms do they occupy currently at FGL? Because
You can't. I think they let you know earlier in the meeting, the classrooms in the basement aren't for pre-K. They can't be used where the tech is now.
Okay.
So just, I voted against UPK when we were put up to vote last year. I support UPK. I don't support an inequitable distribution where you offer it to 36 kids and not the ones who need it the most, right? So to me, that's not equity, right? That's a lottery, and it's one of the reasons that I voted against an in-house UPK program. With that said, I think it's leading to indicate that a change would be because of UPK. I think if we're talking about making changes, it's important to talk about cost benefit analysis. What things can you do better if you make the change? What things are going to hamper you if you don't? And I think that there's a multitude of factors here. They're all going to weigh in some capacity. There's pros and there's cons, but I don't think any of them is singular. I'm not interested in one plan or another because it doesn't offer UPK, but I am interested in whether I'm able to gain some sort of a benefit and expand from an equitable perspective. The state currently will not let us give UPK to any student based on need, right? Your child and mine, whatever our differences in household income are, one is no more able to get a position versus the other. It's literally luck of the draw. That doesn't help when some people can afford to go to a private preschool and will go if they don't win the lottery, and someone who doesn't win the lottery is going to be home with family, right? Until they're able to come to school. So if we're talking about all of the different benefits, I don't know that it would be fair to say, well, you're not going to just do this because it's UPK. We need to focus on everything else. One other piece to add, and Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is something I learned as we went on. Every year the UPK process starts over. That's the state, including the one we have now. There is nothing locked and loaded. The exact same work that Margaret will have to do, whether we continue what we have now or whether we go, it's probably, if we're intending to do it in-house, it's probably less work in some way because you're going to collaborators who are willing to come here. If you're going to offer it split, Margaret has to find every single collaborator and offer it to all of them, and then have people decide where they're going to go out, including running a lottery internally. So if we remove it, you're actually gonna take a large portion of the work that the director of curriculum and instruction has to do on an annual basis at a very busy time of the year, because she's no longer gonna be fielding a lottery and then dealing with every parent and then jockeying a list and emailing everyone as each kid drops out of this one and goes into that one. Is that a reason to make a change? It's not. Is it fair to say that opening up UPK is going to create this tidal wave of work when it's really a tidal wave of work, and this may actually streamline it and create an equitable opportunity for all kids to learn earlier? To me, that is a yes. And the state can pull the funding whenever they want, right? And if they do, then we make a decision. But we've currently made a decision to support it now. And if we go to an outside collaborator, does it give us the opportunity to expand it without incurring additional cost? That's a topic of discussion, and who knows how that unfolds. I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we take a break so I can
Sure.
use the,
You have to make a motion to.
may I make a motion to
Have a
take
recess.
a recess?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
Sorry, Dan.
Take 5 minutes and we'll be back at 8:50. I'd like to make a motion to return from recess. Can I have a second? Second. All in favor? Okay, we're continuing our discussion. Our policy change, decision, if you want 10, and Erica, I think you had a question.
I just want to touch upon what science or STEAM might look like next year in the elementary school. Whether we're at A, B, G, D.
So we anticipate bringing science instruction, which is currently delivered by a STEAM teacher, I believe Margaret, twice a cycle, 6-day cycle. We anticipate bringing that back into the classroom teachers' purview and oversight, and have STEAM still as a special, working with as part of the implementation of any policy change and enacting the plan with the teachers and with the building principals and the schedulers to see how that will work. But there is a new 5th grade science assessment this year. The value of science and the cross-cutting concepts that come through that, bringing that back into the classroom, yet still looking at the interdisciplinary approaches to STEAM would be something we would look to partner with our professionals on bringing back into the classroom.
So is that gonna increase the amount of science
It
exposure
would-
our kids get? Or is it gonna decrease the amount?
You would increase.
It will. It may.
Because when we put STEM in place, STEAMs, we were expecting those teachers to get through all that curriculum twice in a 6-day schedule over the course of a year, which is crazy to me to teachers and crazy to me for students.
So the district currently subscribes and implements the Science 21, which is a Northern Westchester BOCES collaborative venture. I'm sure, not knowing the details, but I'm sure knowing the caliber of our teachers. Margaret, some of our teachers have even helped in the development of that program, the curriculum writing. And it's a program used throughout the state and even in other states. And it is aligned to the next gen science standards. And it's a program that is prescribed, scripted. It also supports in the meeting the investigations, which are a new requirement of New York State. If you want to consider the high school lab experiences, our elementary students now have to complete those before sitting for the 5th grade exam. So it is quite a number of units to get through, and we feel that this would be the best way to support our students in preparing not only for the assessment, but also in engaging in meeting those standards and the performance indicators associated.
And you said that is regardless of whatever decisions are made as far as the policy for that. That is happening in A, B, Y, or Z, anything.
I would make the recommendation that we go down that route no matter what.
I just have a good question. I guess, with rolling science back into the classroom, our teachers are gonna need some professional development in that area, correct? So are we planning to have that done and rolled out for them as well?
Yes. Yes, there are costs associated with it. Even if we were to continue, there are consumable costs, there are non-consumable costs that are budgeted for each year based upon the number of sections. One thing I would recommend you always consider is with this program, if you have a teacher who changes grade levels, they would need to be trained in the units that are associated with that grade level.
Okay, so if we have 2 K2 schools, we'd have to duplicate the costs to have that in the 2 separate buildings as well, right?
I would like to drill down to see if the teachers remain in those grade levels, if they would need that professional development, if they've already been teaching.
Some have already been trained in their units and some have not, and some may change grade levels.
So to echo that, some have already been trained in those grade levels already.
Same number of sections.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand that. If we have 7 sections of kindergarten, why would it be double the amount if they're together or separate?
In the aspect of professional learning, we would need to see who has been trained in that grade level and if they are assigned to that grade level.
But there's no duplicity, because you're still the same people teaching the same number of kids in the same number of classrooms.
I guess I was thinking more about materials.
So materials are based on a total number of students per section anyway. If you have 7 sections of materials, there are some you can share and there are some you have to purchase.
There will be there would be an increased cost. Number one, finding out which teachers need support and training. And number two, right now, because there is only one teacher in each school teaching the program, there is a reduction in the cost of kits based on that. So that's non-consumable materials. The consumables, yes, are ordered for all of our kids, so that doesn't change. But the non-consumable piece of it would change because you and Stephanie might be teaching it at the same time on the same day that it couldn't be shared. Right.
I mean, I guess another topic that we can talk about is just facilities in general. Spend a lot of time trying to analyze G at Furnace Woods. Up until today, spending several hours there. And it fits like a glove. Like, that's how honest as I could be about it. There is no space we would need to expand and spend money at Furnace Woods to make additional classroom spaces and some flex spaces for the future with going with that model. Probably 3 classrooms to have safety. Is I think what we sort of would keep an eye on or what we spoke about. But I mean, every square inch of that building would be used. Certain parts of the building are used now in A that honestly, I think we've all walked them now and would not have liked them to look the way they look today, right? So there's work to be done there anyway, so I don't want to alarm people. I think there's work to be done at Furnace Woods. I think we would love to see the cafeteria look something similar to what we have done at EV. There are some support spaces that are really in shabby condition that need to be worked on. So I think those are things, the library, the media centers, and every one of our elementary schools needs work. I think these are all things that we've talked about as capital projects that would roll forward, but there would be additional square footage that would be needed at Furnace Woods to support Plan G for a longer term solution. If we, I don't think we all want, I think this, what we got from state, where we got from our architect is using modulars is not something the state and prefers. They will let you use them with a plan to move forward. So you could use modulars for a short term and put a plan forward to, build extra space. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that it was looked at really diligently with a lot of care, with teacher concerns involved, and it is extremely tight.
I guess did we get a final number of what the add of, I guess, classrooms that we would get there? Because one of the plans I think only showed 1, and I wasn't sure if that was just like.
There's not.
Okay.
There's no spare.
No, I mean like to add to the building, right? One of the plans only showed 1 additional kindergarten
So
that
I
could
think
be outfitted there.
We looked, when we went back again, I mean, that was really upon our direction.
Okay.
But I think what we had said is if we would put square footage there, we would look to put, so we would have 3, basically 1 extra classroom at each grade level. So that way you would have swing space.
It is possible.
And it is
It's just the
possible.
cost, there's just a cost attached.
Yeah, I mean, when we went through at Armand, I think it was like $1,000 a square foot, and each kindergarten class needed 1,000 square feet, so.
So it's not,
It's,
each
because
so any square footage that we are renovating within the building, within the current walls, is approximately $500 to $600 a square foot.
right.
If you're putting new square footage on, it's $800 a square foot. If you're going out, it's about 800, not 1,000. And each kindergarten classroom is 900 square feet.
Okay, I just remember when I was there, he said it was 1,000, and then the other ones on the other side were smaller, and there were 750.
He never said 1,000. He said 800.
That's in square
He
feet.
said it was $800 to $1,000 per square foot for new construction. I wrote it down. It's on the-
outside of the walls of the.
Correct, outside of the walls.
And
of
the
building.
kindergarten classrooms are 900 square feet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's above and beyond what we would have to make choices in our capital. For sure. And whatever we put forward, it would mean maybe holding off on something else that we wanted to do to support Plan G. I mean, there's advantages.
A needs bathrooms if we stay like we are.
There's
a lot of
facilities and
infrastructure work, no matter what we do in every building, because.
think I lost my eardrum.
Yeah. I think that it doesn't, not that it doesn't matter. What I mean is, I think that we're going to have investments in facilities, no matter what we do, including staying as we are today. If we make no change to to anything whatsoever, there are not enough classrooms with bathrooms in Furnace Woods as it sits currently. I'm sorry, in Frank J. Right? There's, and if we switch those buildings, there's gonna be probably things that we need to do to incorporate. If we stay in A and flop those two buildings, there's gonna be things that need to be done to help enhance those buildings for the population, because all of the buildings were built for a K-5 environment. If we do Plan B versus G, like, I think to try to say, well, we're gonna take money away from kids if we do this, is an intellectually dishonest statement, because every plan we're in is going to require the facilities to get work to best educate children tomorrow.
So I guess my question is based on just the mental health of just our staff, our teachers, our students, our parents, just everybody in this community, right? Why would we, if we're going to do renovations anyway, why would we even move the model that we're currently in and not just make the renovations based on what the buildings need to accommodate them? I guess my thought is, why are we the teachers now have to also do science in the classroom? That's something we're rolling out next year. We have the pilots they're also doing. They also have to teach on a daily basis and everything else that they do for our children, as well as our children themselves. I guess my question is, if we're gonna be putting forward renovations anyway to the buildings, why can't we allow our staff, our community to just heal and do the work of what needs to be done in these bonds that we're gonna present forward?
Because part of where we would spend the bonds is based on what structure we're gonna be in.
Mhm.
You're gonna tailor the school for the kids that are in that school. Our teachers taught science before they went to STEAM, right? And they did it all different ways, however they saw fit. I'm not gonna, I don't even know, but I know they taught science. But there is more rigor in science now because of the 5th grade test. So these are all conversations that we actually just need to keep having, because the evolution of education, the way our schools were designed 30 years ago, 40, whatever, 50. I mean, classrooms ideally shouldn't look the way that they look now. We have to keep investing in the way we educate our kids, what our facilities in which we educate them, what the vision of our district is for the long term, how our kids are performing, what we can do to have them perform better, expectations. I mean, these are conversations we have to have all the time. But I understand waiting sometimes, but at some point, when are we gonna keep waiting? Or are we gonna keep waiting to talk about things? We're gonna keep waiting for numbers? We're gonna keep waiting for data? Like, I'm not trying to listen, this is hard, this is exhausting work. We can't keep talking about it for years on end and getting back to the same conclusion that we're gonna keep waiting. We've done this for 2 years.
But we haven't done anything for 2 years.
We
haven't. No, I'm not talking about the board. I am talking about the district putting in the resources needed to give the buildings a chance. Listen, we can go back and forth about how we got here, who we blame, what they did, what their process was. The truth of the matter is, in any plan that you go into, there's going to be more changes that need to be made. And the truth is, you're not gonna unearth those problems and they're not gonna raise their heads until you're already in the plan and you're living it, right? So we're jumping from the thing we know what we have to fix right now to jump to something else that it's an unknown. We don't know what problems are gonna arise when we do this. And then we're gonna be in it. And then there's gonna be another year of lag that our children, our students that we should be centrally focused on are going to suffer. So my point is, why are we going to continue to have this conversation about changing it into another plan when we know everything that we need to work on now in the model we're in to make the adjustments and fix it? Let's fix it. Let's fix it. I commend
We're
some,
talking about
no,
fixing
I
it.
know
Why
it.
we're here,
I'm
we're
trying
trying to fix it.
that.
But
And
we're
I-
So
fixing
you're
the parts that
discrediting
don't work.
all of the work, and you're also,
Okay.
and the principals
Okay.
as well. So you're blaming the
I'm-
principals
I-
now for not doing the work to.
I am sorry, hold on a
I'm,
second.
that's how I'm
I'm
understanding.
sorry, I'm sorry, 1 second. I am not blaming the principals,
go
I'm
back to
not
what
blaming
you're
the
saying.
board,
Just
I'm
go
not
back.
blaming anyone.
So when you're
I
speaking,
specifically started by saying the district did not.
who's
do
the
work.
district?
They did not do.
Who's the district?
They
Nika?
did not do the planning that was needed to be executed for the Princeton plan to work. Nothing had ever been done for the bridging, for the classrooms, for the.
When
the
did we
kids to
learn
have-
about this?
But that's my point, Erica. We've learned about it. Now we know what the problems are because we're living the plan right now. If we go to another plan, there's gonna be 1,000 other
Tamika,
things that are going to
hang on a
arise.
second. Problems are unique to individuals,
Mhm.
right? Like, I think we have to just accept that this is not working for a lot of people. And it is,
But who's a lot
Sorry.
of people?
I'm saying it both ways.
You make a
there are
broad statement
people
like
who
that.
love this, and
Amelia
there are
said
people who-
earlier, the district had an election, everyone voted, the plans that.
Tamika, I don't wanna talk about that, listen.
Okay, you don't wanna
Listen,
talk about it, but I'm
I
gonna
was,
make this.
I was
I
voted
was-
in that
I
way
was-
too, I don't
Alexis,
go there.
I'm gonna let
I
you,
was
I'm gonna let
fine
you finish,
too.
I'm gonna let you finish your
I
thought,
don't
and when
want
you were
this to
done,
go
I will.
here. You understand, we all are here because we want something better. Better than the past, better than now. I can't sit here and say that I didn't learn how valuable grade banding is from living this every single day as a board trustee. But it would be completely dishonest to say that there are not issues. To say that transition, you can't just make transitions go away. We're trying. We worked tirelessly on G to reduce a transition, but keep it grade banded. Day in and day out, we have to work together here. And arguing like this is not working together.
No, but.
We need to acknowledge that this works for some people and it doesn't work for others. And we need to acknowledge that we need to do something to make it better. I hear what you're saying. You're saying make it better, don't change the configuration, figure out ways to make it better. That's fine. That's your position. That's your position. But the other board members are allowed to feel that they want something different and they want to reduce a transition or they want, so everyone can have their own position. It would not be honest to not say that there are issues with the model that we're in and you can't fix it by waiting. You can't fix it by applying dollars to facilities, right? Like there are problems here that exist that we are working as a group to try to fix.
So the answer to those problems is let's throw it out. Let's start over with a new model. Let's wait another year and figure out what the problems are and let's throw money at it while we're doing that.
Throwing money at it.
We're not?
Oh my gosh.
Can I
Depends on what plan you're in.
finish? Can I just finish my thoughts? I let you guys speak.
I barely spoken.
Okay, so I'll let you
Spoken a
speak.
ton.
You let me know when you're done and I can
I
speak.
know this is emotional. I know this is a hard conversation,
It's,
but nobody's throwing anything out.
it's not emotional.
Two of
I
these
wanna
plans-
talk about facts, but every time I continue to try to speak to you guys about it, I'm being cut off. I'm being told I'm blaming principals, I'm blaming the administration, I'm blaming this. Words are being put into my mouth that I never said. All I'm saying is, we know what the problems are in Plan A. One of the parents who was super passionate about moving back to community schools just told a story that broke my heart. And if she can change her mind about her position because she knows that her child is going to be affected, having almost 5 transitions with any new model that we go to, we cannot as a board sit here and also still say, transitions are what we're trying to solve.
Because it's long term. She didn't talk about the incoming kindergartners that we need to hold to near and dear to our heart. And the kids that are in preschool and 3s and 2s. We don't want to bring them into this, do we?
Listen, we don't, Alexis, but I will go back to saying again, what is the cost that this district and board is willing to throw at something? I mean, I did my calculations on if we had to add, based on the information I was given, if we had to add 1 kindergarten class to Furnace Woods to make G work, it was $2.3 million between the $100,000 for the modular, the cost of the construction, permits and filings, everything else that goes along with it. And I work in construction and I do actual job sites. I understand it like the back of my hand. whenever someone tells you the budget is $2 million, it's usually 2.5, because when they open things up, boy, things show up in their faces. And we all know already that Furnace Wood had mold problems, flooding issues, and we also have to get state approval to put those modules on the property. So we could go ahead and throw all this money towards a plan, and once we get there, the state can say they are not gonna do it.
Okay, A, we're not buying modulars. We're not.
Okay.
We're not buying. B, where's mold? Okay, when you say there's mold in Furnace Woods, that's a
I
really
didn't
big.
say there is mold. I said there has been past issues of mold
Has
in
there
that
been?
building. Yes, there has.
We have documented that we have this documented, truly,
I mean,
facilities people.
Enrique, do we know any mold reports?
Okay, we have to be very careful about saying things like that, and I get it. But we have to be really careful, because then you're gonna get people to go on and start calling into the district. And I'll be very, very honest with you, you get that could be a lot of money to the district. You open up that can of worms. That is a slippery slope. So we have to be very, very careful with making claims like that. I think what really happens here is everyone has an opinion, and there is no right opinion. I gotta be honest with you. My head's turned upside down. And when your kid is involved in it, it's even worse. I mean, for the parents that are living it, your opinion gets even stronger. So I just want it to be known that it's okay to have different opinions. It doesn't make anyone a bad person. Doesn't make them not worthy of a hi or a smile. It's okay that we all have different opinions. But let's be careful, because someone could run with that.
Is there any other items that would like to be discussed?
I have a quick question. Do we need to revise the policies before they're presented again? Because I know there was notice made on the first one.
So we can. This is I mean, we do karma. We want to change the his or her in the policy. We can do that tonight.
Update, you can also.
Yeah.
Make the date change.
And the strikeout.
We're gonna get to student. This way it's just gonna become student. And for the superintendent, we might need to rewrite that sentence.
Administrative team.
So we can make a general consensus of ensuring date accuracy for any current plans and models. And then also any pronouns could be changed to gender neutral. And any sentences containing pronouns could be changed to gender neutral statements.
So this is the end of the conversation. I just want to remind or just reiterate again. That majority of the people did not want Plan B. Based on the surveys, based on the community output. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well, I don't know what the majority is. I'm just
saying. I ran, and I don't ever talk about it, but I ran on not.
No, I'm
not Plan
asking
B.
you. Oh, you mean your vote? Gotcha.
It was very clear. This is not what the majority of the community wanted. That came out and expressed themselves via voting. And this is not what teachers want. So. And I know we've gotten a lot of communication, but there's been a lot in every way, but we have expressed this is not what you want.
I mean, I appreciate that, but I want to make sure people vote for you because of who you are, not of one. If people are voting for you because of one topic,
I understand that, but
so short-sighted. We vote I vote for you because I think you're gonna do the right job. I vote for Jeremy because I think he's gonna do the right job.
I
That's why
understand that.
people vote for people.
I understand that, but I feel like this was an exceptional year. This doesn't come up.
Every year has been exceptional for the
But
past
this,
3 years.
this doesn't come up every year. Since I've started in July, we have done a lot of things. Hiring a superintendent.
Yeah.
And now restructuring the school. That's not something that happens, and there are board members who do neither of those things. So this was a monumental year. This was a big year. I think we need to hear that. I also know we did do a lot of work. We did a lot of work trying to reduce the transition in G. And as a math teacher, I tell my students, when they're trying something, if it doesn't work, persevere and look at it again. Maybe there's something that you're missing. You don't just give up on something and say, I'm gonna go for something that is not what I wanted. And like I said, a few weeks ago, this was not what some of you wanted. So don't give up on what you did want, because it might be a little bit more work, or it might take a little more time, or it might be a little harder. Look at it and try it again. Get more professional help. Be a little more creative, but don't give up on something because it got a little difficult. And this is the same thing I tell my students every single day when they're trying something. I teach math. It gets difficult. Kids want to give up. Don't give up. Try it again. Look at it in a different way. Start over. Do something else, but just don't give up.
Respect that. I don't want any of us to give up no matter what vote we do, because at the end of the day, we have to make it the best. So we all have to stick, after we vote, whatever we vote, just like Stephanie said, if it doesn't go her way, we all have to support it 100%.
And you know that I will, but I feel like we need to finish what we started.
And I'm gonna say this because what you're saying is important here. We listened and we heard and we tried G and E, right? And you were on board with all of that, correct?
Absolutely.
You were on the ride with me this whole time. And everyone at this table, when we talked about E, like I was the most improved student. You were the most improved student. But I will say, I mean, we're not, so we had enlightened, but we couldn't get consensus to keep it on the table. And we also thought G fit, right? And last year that we're hearing, we understand the plan B. Listen, I think we all understand the plan B potential issues and risks. I'm gonna put that out there. But I also think that we also see that the opportunities in it, and everyone has to be open to the opportunities and the potential.
But
I'm still but let me finish.
You know,
Let me finish. I feel like when we were sitting here as a group of 7, when we were vetting E, I took it off the table because I wasn't getting consensus from my team that they were into it. Like, we took it off. Because, but at the end, huh?
Same with K-5.
Same with K-5. We weren't gonna get consensus on it, and we gave up on it. To me, that was the long-term plan for Hendrick Hudson. The long-term plan for Hendrick Hudson was that, but we couldn't get a consensus on it, and honestly, I don't think the staff loved it either. So like, where do you go? Like, we have to make a decision with the information that we have to have a consensus on what we think is gonna move us forward and what's best. We have prioritized grade banding. Bringing kids together as early as possible is so incredibly valued to us. I think all of us, I mean, if we learned nothing else, we learned that. We learned that the focus was off of education for a very, very long time, and then we gotta bring it back. We're focusing on curriculum changes. We've been focused on, it's a priority. There's going to be curriculum changes next year. There's going to be. We're gonna get ELA. We're gonna support it. I don't know where this idea comes from that we're not gonna fund it. I don't even know where that nonsense comes from. We're going to fund it. We're going to figure it out because it's important. So no matter what we do here, we just have to move forward. We have to be a team, and we have to support each other, because this has been, I'm gonna be very honest, this has been a struggle, and I hear what you're saying. And you know how I feel about each and every one of you, because I do feel like we are a team. Enrique, Vanitha, Lisa, Margaret, Dennis, Mike, Carmen, we have asked them for so much information as our own team. And they have given us every bit of information, because before we're making this decision, we're not taking this lightly. This is not being taken lightly. I have read data points, emails, test scores. I've looked at building plans. I've literally walked Furnace Woods again today. Okay. This is like, it's a lot, and we're really doing our best. We believe in our staff. I believe in our staff. I believe no matter what no matter what we do, if they're given the right supports and we listen to them and bring them to the table and make them part of the conversation, nothing we do will fail here. But unfortunately, our facilities are set up for K-5, and it's a struggle. Like, we want to do certain things, but they're still set up as K-5. And at the end of the day, Franchi Lindsay is our biggest building for our larger children should be there. I know it sucks. I get it. They probably shouldn't have been put there in the first place. That may have been the bane of this plan from the beginning. I don't know. Okay. But I know that they don't belong there. There's a lot of potential bringing 3-5 in that building. There just is. And I know it's hard. Like, I know this is hard for our staff. I could cry over it. I love our staff. It's painful, but we need to make this best and better and move forward. And just because it's not it's not what I want, it's not what you want, we're trying to do, at the end of the day, we have to come to a consensus on what is best. We have to, going forward, we have to make it we think is what's gonna be best, and then we have to make it best. And I think if anything we do as a group and anything we do as a team and anything we do with this amazing staff we have, it can only go up from here. It can only go up from here. I'm done. I'm not gonna talk anymore.
Anybody have any other discussion items? Nothing they want to say.
I actually wrote something I'm gonna read. Probably gonna- Maybe I'll cut some of it out. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to start out by thanking the members of the board for all of the hard work we have put into the restructuring work, as it truly shows our commitment to our community and our dedication to doing what is best for our students. When I came aboard in July, I made a promise to myself to do what I felt was best, guided by what was best for student achievement, data-driven, and what was fiscally responsible for our stakeholders. I was prepared to have opinions on issues I didn't agree with and would have to compromise if the information put in front of me was in the best interest of our students. I am here to serve and make decisions guided by their success. I have already made compromises since coming aboard that encompass this, as my fellow board members know. As many of you know, I ran wanting to keep the Princeton plan in place as I saw all the benefits. I truly understand and heard all the hardship as well that some of our families have had, and I empathize with them wholeheartedly. We have been working diligently as a board to review all the financial information, working on limiting the transitions, getting community input, and listening to the community. All these things have been done to help us make the best decisions available for student success, and unfortunately, Plan B and G do not help us to get to student success. Plan B would be a regression of all of the progress we have made as a community, as well as divide our district again. It will be one that will make VV not have the same structure or demographics as the other school, and it will be irresponsible of a board to vote for such a policy. As stated in a New York State Board Association handbook, you are the stewards both of your district's children and its tax dollars, as well as an advocate for all students, public education, and the educated public. I asked our board members to remember this as we continue to discuss this policy. Plan G is our other option, which I love because it included expansion of UPK, and that would be an amazing opportunity for all of our district's new young families, and it's exciting to offer. I also love that we would continue to grade band and keep all the grades together. And if all the data presented to me showed me how we could accomplish this and be fiscally responsible, and how it improves student achievement, I would be a yes for Plan G. Unfortunately, the numbers that have been presented have not shown these plans to work. It also has its challenges as it adds to the discussion. It also has challenges to add, as it discussed during our public walkthrough, the amount that it would cost for new construction. It was also noted that modulars would be an additional cost of $100,000, and it cannot be added to the building until permits are approved. The state must approve them. There is just no space for growth at Furnace Woods. As many of you know, we have constantly had issues of parking and flooding there. If I calculate it with just the numbers I have, permits being around 300,000, construction for one kindergarten class about $1 million, and the modular 100,000, construction that must happen in 2025, as we would be out of the space as we are packed in that room. I'm going to skip certain things that I had in here. This is a total of $2.3 million to accommodate this plan with future expenses, and we won't have touched any of the real infrastructure work our schools need to have. We can spend the money up front and do all the permits and everything, only to be turned down by the state. What happens to our students while all of this is being sorted out? They will be stuffed in rooms that are overcrowded, and the quality of their education and instruction will suffer. As many of you know, with the closing of Indian Point, we face financial hardships with the loss of revenue. Starting in 2024, as presented by Superintendent Tremblay in the last meeting and on several budget presentations over the years, our cessation fund will be decreasing by $2 million each year for the next 6 years. With this loss of revenue, we should be focusing as a district on the future and planning accordingly to ensure our taxes and spending are under control. We have a lot of seniors here who have a fixed income and cannot afford to see any huge tax amounts year after year. We have many important and pressing things to tackle that must be done for our students. ELA pilots, curriculum, special education, literacy, and the list goes on and on. We have only been spending a lot of time on the elementary model, which I appreciate because the discussion has been needed, I think, for our community and for every board member that sits here. And I truly appreciate that. But we still have the middle school and the high school that are not getting looked at in this way. Let's work together to provide our students with the best educational experience we can offer as a district to make them successful, because their success story is our success story. In closing, I ask that agenda items 7.1 and 7.2, draft policy 5110, attendance areas proposed amendment, be removed from the agenda. Let us work to do the good work for the success of every student and our district. And remember, we are stewards both of our district's children and its tax dollars, as well as advocates for all our students. Thank you.
I wrote something, but I don't really need to say it all, but I just wanted to make sure that we started this conversation and I think we went through most of it, but some of the things that we all agreed on that were important to us was, we talked about pre-K and its importance to grow it. We talked about grade banding and what we've all learned with grade banding. We talked about introducing our kids at an early age to build relationships and appreciate the diversity of the community and their peers. We talked about intentional transitions that allow time in one place for students to build confidence and become leaders, and time for them to prepare for the next stage. We talked about how we weren't doing that well before. We've been talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, understanding that supporting one model, and I just want to make this clear, by supporting one model does not mean that we lack support for DEI, because DEI is the work that we need to do to create a school environment that embraces DEI. By moving to grade banding, we didn't make us DEI. We may have made it easier, right? But we didn't do the work behind DEI. And then the finances, we continue to talk about finances, providing the community a plan of how we will spend money educating our students, developing our staff, and prioritizing our building assets. A decision that balances these priorities among many other factors will be made tonight. The reality is that no one model comes without flaws. And the success of any model will ultimately be in all of us working to make it the best for all of us and for every Henhood student. So we're all gonna make decisions, and at the end of the day, we all are just gonna work together to make it the best of what we decide.
I feel like I said all I can say. I know that whatever we decide tonight, I think everyone knows that I'm willing to do whatever work it takes to make whatever we decide best.
I'd like to make a motion to remove the draft amendments of 7.1 and 7.2, I believe. I'd like to-
7.1 is the policy. Because item 7.1 is our policy. So it can't be removed, you have to vote on the policy, whether you're voting.
Or can I, a motion to table both of those policies?
Okay. No, so to me, it's a motion to table.
Motion to table.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
So, to make a motion to vote on the attendance policy 5110. As discussed. Right. Yep,
Which represents.
which represents Plan B for the second reading revision, April 12th, 2023, with the revisions that we spoke about tonight regarding gender neutral and dates. We're making a motion.
Which one are we voting?
Making a motion to approve the policy change.
Which one?
5110.
But there's here too.
We didn't move to the.
Plan B. We didn't move to the amendment.
You seconded.
I second. Oh no, I'm sorry, I have to do this one by one, I have to do roll call, sorry. Whichever way. Amelia?
How do I say I'm not
Yes or
voting
no,
for it?
yes or no?
No, absolutely not.
Abstain.
No, I'm just saying no. I'm putting it out there, I'm saying no.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Carmen will announce the status of the motion.
Motion that this has been passed. It is a 5-2 vote. In favor of the policy change for school attendance area 5110, second reading revision April 12th, 2023.
Nice. No, we did.
I just want to say, going forward, we all need together, and that creating more controversy is only creating more divide. And whether you agree with it, and I've said it before, if it was something I agreed with or didn't agree with, I would be behind it. It's time to build bridges and go forward and create togetherness.
Oh, I will do the work.
No,
I'm just
I'm
making
not-
sure my name is not on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So for those who are at the board who are reading the adopted language, notice that the pre-K is not in there. That's because it's not a required program, but the superintendent can identify where that goes. So it may not be stated in the policy of pre-K. So it will be included in the rollout of the plan.
We don't have any presentations or discussions. We already did our superintendent's report. I think we can hold on committee reports unless there's anything important that we need to discuss tonight.
I don't think we've had, I didn't have a committee since.
No, we've all been.
Yeah.
Okay. Any board comments, new business?
The only thing I want to say, I think it's important to say this, and I'm sitting here thinking about. Just because we've been talking about the elementary school does not mean we have not been focused on middle school and high school. Because every single day of my life is devoted to this and the work of this, and we spend a lot of time in the middle school and high school and making sure that they're getting what they need. And every time it's said, I cringe a little bit because we have staff in those buildings and strategic plans and everyone working and staff working on that with them. And we have curriculum committees. We spend hours. We put in AIS, we've adjusted things. We're trying to make it better and it is being monitored. So I don't want anyone to think that we're not looking at our middle school and our high school. It's a very, very high on our list as a group. And I just wanted to say that because I think that does get said a lot and I don't really fully understand it. So, I mean, I know that from what I see, we spend a lot of time making sure that our special education kids have what they need, our high school has what they need, our middle school has what they need. So I just wanted to put that, I had to correct the record on that. Because we spend a lot of time talking about all of our schools, not just elementary.
All right, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
You guys have something? Go for it.
No, I was just asking a clarifying question for UPK before and after care, if that was an option.
Yeah.
I was just asking where in this like in this model, how that would work in terms of space, like playground. It just came to my mind. So that's
So in our discussions, knowing the configuration according to policy of how the plan will be filed, in our discussions with how we implement the plan within the policy, we would work with the provider and building and any other providers such as Mother Connection to work out those logistics on how the proposed before and after care plan program work. In general terms, providers can offer before and after care plans. That would have to be worked out and spelled out in contract whenever provider responds to the RFP and is selected. So that can be all worked out through that process.
I was just mentally trying to picture how it would fit.
I think those details would have to be worked out in the process of implementation. But we shared spaces. We'd have to balance perhaps three priorities: the school districts, any established providers, and any new providers.
So going forward from here, we know that there's gonna be lots of information and communication going out. Can we not only send it out to the families, can we also put it on our site, the page where we've been updating?
Great question.
Because I feel like it's very hard to be like, I know that it was in an email where my kid will be going or picked up or whatever.
So we anticipate transitioning the current restructuring section of the website into a status dashboard of where you can see what progress has been made. We anticipate having an FAQ as we respond to questions, as questions come up. So yes, that's exactly, we're not just going to put it out in the weekly updates, but we'll keep the elementary restructuring website as is and simply update the information that we provide rather than the plans. Now how the plans are being fleshed out.
I have a motion to close the meeting.
Motion.
Second.